Okay, I'm recording this again. No tears or stopping or explanation this time. Just the mud flood, as you can see right there. See if I can make it bigger. That picture. That's one of the pictures I wanted to get anyway. Goddamn advertisements. Anyway, get rid of this. It's just over here.
Eureka Springs, it's known for its quirks, its old town charm, and the occasional haunting.
But as 4029's Melissa Kelly found out, what lies beneath Eureka Springs that's raising eyebrows and causing some serious concerns.
We came over here 25 years ago when we got married for our honeymoon, and this is our 25th anniversary, so we came back today.
Eureka Springs is a place of nostalgia for Charlie and Kay Miller.
I love plants and gardens, so this is a perfect place to be.
The sights of the old Victorian town draw thousands of tourists a year.
This is just really, to me, a unique town.
But perhaps the most unique part of the town is a part you can't see.
We're right underneath the courthouse. Right up there are the county offices and the city offices. And underneath here is the tunnel system that runs all through town. And right now it's causing the town some trouble.
When Eureka Springs was booming, a creek ran through town, and it was a muddy mess. Turn-of-the-century pictures show a mud flow running right down Main Street. After several fires destroyed the town, city leaders decided to rebuild and get rid of the mud problem at the same time. They did that by rebuilding over the creek. They covered it with a tunnel and then built buildings on top of the tunnel. Then other tunnels were added to even out the rest of the town, in essence, raising the street level by about 20 feet. So in some of the old buildings, what was the first floor in the 1800s is now a basement.
This was at that time the first floor, yes. And we think the front door was right there. You can see how the rockwork's kind of patched in.
Linda Bridwell owns the Grand Central Hotel. It was built in 1883, right about the time the city was building the tunnels and raising the street level.
This is the original rock and mortar from 1883.
When you open this door, it leads to a secondary tunnel system. Above is the sidewalk. At one time, it was a basement escape route.
It was also, the tunnels had a lot more purpose. Also, I'm told it was a wonderful secret passageway from building to building. And I'm told that Jesse James was a hideout in there, and that the mafia, they used it as a getaway in the 20s. And so the tunnels are pretty interesting, have a lot of history.
Underground Eureka has a lot of history, but Mayor Dana Joy has some very modern-day questions about the tunnels.
You're looking at a system that was put in the 1880s, early 1890s. It has not really needed any repair until we had the storms that came through a couple of years ago.
Parts of the tunnels are shifting and collapsing.
The issue that we're having is that the city never had easement rights to do work under that property. It actually belongs to private property owners.
This particular problem outside the auditorium is the county's responsibility, but other areas are in question.
You know, it's always an issue. You don't want to have anything to be unstable.
Right now, engineers are trying to figure out how much it would cost to fix the tunnels.
That's the million-dollar question.
Stabilizing the tunnels would make many business owners and the mayor feel a lot safer.
So your office, you're sitting on the tunnel.
I'm sitting on the tunnel.
Does that creep you out ever?
There's actually a hatch in my floor that's under the carpet that gets into the tunnel.
So if you ever needed to escape quickly, you could just skip the hatch.
I've never needed to escape that bad.
For now, Eureka will continue to be an escape for tourists who enjoy a walk through the historic city, but never realize the history that lies beneath their feet. In Eureka Springs, Melissa Kelly, 4029 News.
Right now, the city offers a partial tour of the underground parts of Eureka Springs, but it's too unsafe and unstable to show the entire system.
And around that time, I had to go and purify with some stuff that I obtained. I had to purify the springs all the way up to Roaring River and down to Montenay Springs because they had become contaminated. Probably, maybe because of the work they're doing on the tunnels. I'm not for sure, but it was like a biological, chemical / contamination. I really don't know if it ever got cleared up. I assume that it did, due to efforts of mine and the University of Arkansas students that were there that I seen the day I was doing purifications. Of course, I couldn't let them on to know what I was doing because what I was doing was quite, not sanctioned, and I wasn't going to ask for sanctioning. So, but yeah, I'm one of the, I don't know, I might be the only sector portal guardian in this area. There might be some younger or older than me left. I don't know, only they know, and they will reveal themselves as time progresses, or maybe they have already, I don't know. As far as I know, I'm the only one that knows certain things about this area and its history, going back to when I was 8 years old and got lost in these particular catacombs under Eureka, and a group of people, let's just say, 2 people ushered me back up the stairways and through the tunnels and up and until to get to my parents, which at that time in the 80s, people didn't people let their kids run around freely. There wasn't a whole lot of missing persons going around, in our area or anything like that. Maybe the big cities or something, but here in the Ozarks, you let your kids run wherever they wanted to, and Eureka Springs was just, like fairy tale land. But kids probably wound up down there, but they shortly after that they sealed the visible entrances that were accessible to tourists, so you could only get in there through secret office back doors and stuff like that, like the mayor's office, stuff like that, and the entrance they used for tourism. So I just wanted to record that, and I'm archiving this in the archives and not my confessional video, which you can find on my channel. I'm not archiving that. I actually might replace it with this one. I don't know. But I do get kind of emotional and call out some people. But anyway, this proves that around 1883, there was a mud flood. And this correlates with all the rest of around the country's pictures, Milwaukee and all these other places that have, and also the other little towns that have architecture like this from the Renaissance. They call it Renaissance architecture, but we're coming to find out that this was a civilization that disappeared somehow. It had free electricity, free power, free wireless power, or they got it out of the ground or out of the air, and so we're still doing research exactly on, because a lot of buildings were destroyed, significant ones were destroyed, and so we only have pictures, and then it's hard to decipher the photoshopped pictures to the technology we have now of making photos and history, pretty much out of the thin air, and forging it. So it's hard to decipher the forgeries from the reality. But I can tell you this right now, that you can go into Eureka Springs, and they really, we're so backwoods that we haven't heard. We didn't hear of the mudflood stuff. Now, my dad did, but it wasn't as, like, just this past couple years, all these channels popped up on YouTube and everywhere talking about it. And the Paleo-Indian pyramids and mounds. There's some mounds up here by my house, here in Rogers, in the Searless Prairie, and we were told that those were cypress tree mounds, which apparently they're not, because I went metal detected them one day before the ballpark went in, and each and every one of them had something metallic down 6 to 8, 16 feet down with a $2,600 metal detector mine lab I had. Detected metal in each mound, and I covered about 22 mounds in total. There was a lot more out there than that though, but that was before they put the ballpark in up here on North 24th Street, Rogers, off of Hudson. And then right north of the ballpark, there's still a little area, a little pool of water in the middle of some mounds. It's called the Searless Prairie. It's still a nature reserve until they decide to get rid of it. But those, I believe, are Indian burial mound / pyramids. So, and then of course the big ones out near Memphis and the Paragould or wherever, and then there's a couple of them south of Mena, down by Texarkana, around that area. So I assume there's probably some out in Texas and Louisiana too, but you know, it's so green, it's hard to pinpoint them or see them. So anyway, thank you everybody. Much love. Mr. Controls out of here.